It's Lena from the Summer Abroad office yet again, and I'm talking to another U of T alumni about their amazing summer abroad experience. This time, Amanda joins me. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, Lena.
And where are you right now, sitting here talking to me?
Right now, I'm in Geneva, in Switzerland. Yeah, I've been here for a few months now. I'm doing my master's in Geneva, so I just started. Finished my undergrad in April, and then, yeah, started my master's this September.
And continue to travel, I see. I know that U of T does provide a Switzerland program in science abroad. That's not the program that you took. What program did you take in 2019?
I went to Italy with a Professor Kamenetsky's class, and it was special topics on disabilities. The course is about people with disabilities or exceptionalities, which is the value term. And it's about the biological and developmental of various exceptionalities. But obviously, being a psychology course, the main focus was on the psychological and social aspects of them. So it was a really interesting course, and Italy was a great place to have that.
Is it about Italy that made it specifically kind of a unique experience to learn that specific subject as opposed to taking that in a classroom in Toronto?
Italy is so rich in culture in so many different ways, and they had quite a few different courses from U of T summer abroad going on at that time. So you could have the culinary one as well, which is self-explanatory for Italy. But
Yeah.
in terms of psychology and the disabilities, we learned a lot about the history of disability in Italy, how it was viewed before we went to mental hospitals or one mental hospital, psychiatric hospital that was 500 years old, and kind of just going through the look at the different social aspects and how it progressed, and in a big way, Italy was the center of developments in health and developments in social aspects as well in Europe at the time. So there's a lot of rich history there, rich culture there.
No kidding. What a great
Mhm.
backdrop for any
Mhm.
class. And you and I actually have that in common because I too went to Siena. Now, I went exactly 10 years before you went.
Oh
So,
wow.
but the thing is about Siena is that it's not like year to year, all that changes. You know what I mean? It's just kind of,
Yeah, for
it's a
sure.
place, part of its charm is that it's frozen in time and you kind of get to see that. And for me, I was a history student. And when you talk about the birthplace, of a kind of modern sensibility. The Renaissance literally took place in
Hmm.
Italy before anywhere else. So definitely a cool place to check out any kind of historical or any humanities course. Honestly, it would just be awesome to take in that setting. So you mentioned that you took a psychology course with Professor Kamenetsky, right? And you guys actually worked on an interesting project after you left the course. Is that right?
Yeah, so I was very fortunate after the course in Italy. I did an IRP, so an individual research project. I wrote an article together about disability and social inclusion, and that was focused on Canada and Canadian Charter of Rights and what's provided for it, and then looking at like the progressive values and the progressive laws that Canada has, kind of contrasting that with the experience of people with disabilities in society and the social inclusion aspect, and how people are viewed with disabilities. So it was a very interesting article that we wrote together, and I was really fortunate. Mhm.
How interesting. Yeah. The fact that you have this expert in the field, you're doing an undergrad, and they gave you that personal attention and got to work on a cool collaborative project together. I mean, that's kind of a once in a degree experience, you might say, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think I was able to do that definitely thanks to summer abroad, because I mean, one of the really good things about the summer abroad classes is that they're really small, and it's very intense. It's only over a period of 5 weeks or so. So you have classes every day, and it's always obviously with the same professor. And the professors that you get are they're ones that really care about this. They really care about their subject. They really care about their students, because in a way they're kind of going out of their way to organize this beyond what the normal, university curriculum. And it's something that they want to do as well. So really good props there for sure. And you can tell that with just the way that you're able to speak to them on a different level than normally in a university class of hundreds of people and stuff. And it's a different feeling and different relationship that the students have with their professors there. Yeah, I definitely am grateful for that.
Absolutely. And that's something that I hear and people at U of T, especially if they're a commuter student. You're going in, you're getting out, you're trying to hit the subway before traffic time, and
Mhm.
sometimes it's really hard to make those connections, not just with the professor, but also your fellow students. I imagine that in your small group, you still keep in touch with some people, you have some travel buddies that you explored the region with on the weekends and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helped to get to know your fellow classmates a lot better for sure. And like you say, I mean, I was at UTM, and UTM is definitely a commuter school as well. Can kind of easily get lost in that crowd, and then everybody just goes home. But whereas
Yeah.
this, you're living together for 5 weeks or at least close to each other. I wasn't on residence, but I was, seeing them every day in class anyways. And we did all the field trips together. And then like that was between my third and fourth year that I did that. And then my fourth year, I had another psychology class with somebody from the summer abroad program. And then, we were doing our projects together. You really do make good relationships there as well. It helps.
Absolutely. And we have that in common because I went to St. George, but I was also a commuter student. And the first time that I really lived in a res was in my summer abroad program. So to have that kind of quintessential college experience, I had to go to Italy to get that. But that's fine. I'm not complaining. It's just interesting
Yeah.
that that's the experience for so many of our students.
Yeah.
And now you live in Geneva and you're working on your
Mhm.
master's.
Mhm.
Has your summer abroad experience influenced you in any way to pursue your education? Are you studying psychology or another field?
I'm doing my master's in global health. I'm specializing in epidemiology.
Mm,
I did
how
the
relevant, by the way.
Yeah, I
Yes.
know, right? I
Mhm.
try and tell people I wanted to do epidemiology before coronavirus made it cool. Yeah. But yeah, actually, like it was around my third and fourth year that I took a double major in psychology and political science in U of T in my undergrad. I realized that I was more interested in the health aspects of both of those, health policy and just mental health and psychology, but maybe like traumatic brain injuries and stuff like that. And the summer abroad project also definitely relates back to that. And being as I'm doing global health, being in Italy and having that summer abroad experience also really helped for sure. I think it really joins back into what I'm doing now. And it was one of the many courses I took along the way where this kind of like brought me to where I am today.
And we're so lucky that you've done so well and you're moving on and you're making U of T proud, which is something that we all love to see. Tell me what it was like to have a professor from U of T kind of join you in Italy as almost the ultimate tour guide. What was that like? Did you get special perspective from your professor being there on scene than you wouldn't have if you were just going to Italy with a friend for a week?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this was the first time that they were doing summer abroad in Italy. Well, Professor Kamenetsky was doing it in Siena for this particular course. I mean, I think before they were in Oxford and London. So discovering that together, but that was really interesting part of it. And it was great. It was obviously very centered around the academic side and discovering it through just, yeah, a different lens. Some of these places that we went to, it wasn't something that I would necessarily go to myself, like it was the Museum of History of Health. And I loved it. It was in Padua, and it was probably my favorite field trip that we had, and one of my most favorite places that I visited in Italy. I just thought it was fascinating, but it's not something that I necessarily would have chosen myself if it wasn't for the program. I think Professor Kamenetsky definitely chose the places really well.
Yeah, I mean, my professor was Professor Kenneth Bartlett, who teaches Renaissance history, and he's done it about a million times. And it really does depend on the kind of program that you take, which professor you're going to get, which instructor or professor has been there year after year. And some of them, like you said, are just discovering this and kind of seeing things in the field for the first time along with their students. And it's kind of a really nice communal experience. So that's awesome. And you know what's interesting as well? You said I wouldn't have gone to this place if my professor didn't decide to put that on the syllabus because he or she would have thought this is a great place for my students to visit. I find Italy, especially, is one place that benefits specifically from that because each city is like its own country. You could spend
Mhm.
weeks and weeks and months in Italy, and there's so much more
Yeah,
to explore.
yeah. There's always more to explore there.
And plans to go back to Italy? I mean, you're so close, you're on the border. Have you been across?
I am so close, and I plan on staying here in Switzerland afterwards, after my master's. So I'm sure I'll be back many times. Back to Siena for sure. There's a lot of things that I loved about Siena, and I've been telling friends, oh, you have to go during the Palio and stuff. Like it's well worth the visit for sure. So I'll be going back at some point as soon as coronavirus is over.
Absolutely. And Palio is this horse race for anyone that's curious that
Mhm.
happens twice a summer in Siena, which is a medieval walled city. It really does look like something out of the 12th century. And the entire neighborhood gets together in this public square and watches these horses race around them. Really
Mm.
quite the cultural experience. I think it was even featured in a James Bond movie, I think.
Oh,
With Daniel
really? I
Craig.
wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah, he was racing around the towers of
Yeah.
Siena chasing a bad guy. So if you like James Bond, go to the place where they filmed the movie. It's really quite spectacular. Amanda, we're so glad you're doing so well, and we hope you stay safe. Everybody is planning their post-COVID trip in their mind, And it's
Mhm.
so nice that you are in such a central European location. So when things do clear up, and it's going to happen, I believe that you get to explore all these cool places for a second or third or fourth time, as many times as you'd like.
I'm
Awesome.
very excited about
For
that.
sure. We're excited for you and we're excited to take more trips. Thanks so much for talking to us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.